A devastating blow rocked the Derby County fan base and Derby County squad over the course of the last 24 hours with breaking news that Curtis Nelson will be missing up to 12 months with an ACL injury. A really disappointing time and a really disappointing player to get that injury to. Curtis Nelson, in my opinion, was well on course to win Player of the Year this season. One of the better players I think we've had in that defensive line across the course of the last few years, and a player who had massive impact on not just the team but also the development of Erin Cashin. And it looks as if Derby County are going to have to look further afield after letting Sonny Bradley go out on loan, a player who in my opinion needed to go out on loan. I still don't think that was a bad decision, but we're now having to look at Lamare Bograde, a 21-year-old Netherlands youth international from Aston Villa. A current market value of £450,000. He stands at 1.85 metres, but is he going to be able to be that replacement that we need for Curtis Nelson? It's going to be interesting to find out. Now, he's played for a range of different clubs across the course of his career so far, and the link comes from Darren Whitcoop. We aren't going to be the only ones in the hunt for the Dutchman. As it says, according to Darren Whitcoop, Derby County are ready to join the race for Aston Villa defender Lamare Bograde. Swansea, along with clubs from overseas, have explored a deal for the Dutchman. Derby are short of options with Curtis Nelson out for the season and Nat Phillips injured. And the truth is that Derby County are in a really, really difficult spot right now. There's a lot of talk about the manager, although he has now been backed by the owner. Deal I maybe don't necessarily agree with, but one which we have to move forward with. Now losing two of our central defenders after letting Sonny Bradley go out on loan. Is Jake Rooney fit enough? Because it looks as if he's going to have to start tonight as you're watching this video when we play against Sunderland. It's a really, really difficult situation that Derby County find ourselves in, and this is going to be a massive, massive move in the context of the club. Now, this season he's made 9 appearances, 4 of those being in the Premier League. He's made an appearance in the Champions League and in the EFL Cup. He's played 580 minutes across the course of those competitions, 267 of those in the Premier League. Now, across the course of his career in total, he started out at Feynoord before moving to Aston Villa. He spent a season on loan at Bristol Rovers, where he had 36 appearances, collecting 3 assists. And since playing for the Aston Villa first team, he's made 8 appearances, no goals, no assists, but as a defender, I'm sure we can all let that go a little bit. Now, there is no talk on when his contract actually expires at Aston Villa, so I'm not sure if this could turn into something long term. But obviously looking at the career he's had at those clubs, 36 appearances at Bristol Rovers, 44 appearances for Villa's under-21s, 19 for Feyenoord's under-17s, 14 for Villa's under-18s, and 8 for the first team. You look at the competitions he's played in, a whole host of different competitions, including a European debut in the Champions League. 45 minutes he made in that competition, but he's also played in a range of different other senior competitions, which will obviously be really important for Derby County to get someone in who can have sort of that instant impact. Now, if we look at the positions he can play in, he is quite clearly a defender. That holding midfield role, centre-back, central midfield and the right-back positions are the positions he's played in. 41 games in defensive midfield with 4 goals and 5 assists. 37 appearances at centre-back with 1 assist to his name. 18 appearances in midfield with 3 assists there. And 6 appearances at right-back. Now, ultimately, if we look at Derby County's depth chart right now in that centre-back position, we currently only have Erin Cashin and Jake Rooney as arguably centre-halves who can play for Derby County right now. Yes, Craig Forsyth can slot in, Ryan Niambi could slot in. If I don't know if Ozo's back in training, I don't know if he's going to be involved tomorrow, but he could also, I think, slot in at centre-back. I believe he's done that at Palace, going through the academy and things like that. So we're in a really difficult position, and losing Curtis Nelson is a massive, massive blow, and this has to be a step forward for Derby County. I put a tweet out yesterday with a clip from just after the fans forum where I discussed some of the talking points, and Curtis Nelson's contract was one of those talking points. Now, at no point did I ever say Nelson didn't deserve a contract extension. I just said we should have waited, and this is the reason why. We've now got a commitment to Nelson on a bumper wage for another year. Now, yes, there's probably insurance which covers what we have to pay out on Nelson, so the money isn't necessarily coming from us, but it still has to be paid. And it's one of those situations for me where people are going to say hindsight's 2020, but that wasn't in hindsight. I was saying it at that point in time, way before we even got here. I think the video's 2 months old, and the responses I've got quite clearly showed that people don't watch clips, and it shows the reason why I don't post clips and things like that, because people won't watch the full, say, minute, which has the full context in, or won't watch the video, which has the context of what I'm saying. And that is the problem that is happening among the fan base at the moment. And it's not just because of the poor form. This has happened across the course of the season. We go back to the start of the season when I had to deal with all the Harnish drama about saying he was going to play in fucking DM. I never said that. And it's one of those things for me where, with Derby County's injury record, since not just Paul Warnes came in, but across the course of the last maybe 5-10 years, it's been abysmal. Yes, Curtis Nelson has played, I think it's every league minute since he joined the club. But the problem with that is that those are the type of players that either end up picking up a long-term knock, like this one, which I believe it's a ACL injury, or you end up like Mason Mount, where you pick up lots of little tiny injuries that keep you out for a month here, you get back, you play 2 games, you're out for a month again, then you're out for 6 weeks, then you're out for 2 months, and things like that. And now, for me, I made a comment about decision makers at the club need to have a think, right? Because in my opinion, right, these are things which should be foreseen by those at the top of the club. Why are these things not thought about, not within that conversation? Now, they may be. It may have been a conversation that had at Derby County. I don't know. You don't know. Unless you're in those meeting rooms, you have no idea. And the problem for me is, I think it's very obvious in Derby's position that a big injury could happen. We've seen David Ozo out this season, Ryan Niambi, Jake Rooney picked up a knock in training, Cashin got injured earlier this season, Fozzie's had an injury, Elder's had an injury, Wilson's had one, Ward, Blackett, Taylor, I think Mendes Lang had to miss a game through injury earlier on in the season. So it's one of those for me where Liam Thompson, Ben Osborne, David Ozo, all had injuries. It's one of those for me where I'm not quite understanding why I'm getting so much stick for just pointing out a fact. Derby County have a horrible injury history, and it's just continued, and it showed again. And obviously, as I mentioned, we're now paying a bumper wage to Curtis Nelson, which he won't play for at least 9 months at best, which takes you to probably about 10-15 games into next season. And if it's handled anything like the Jake Rooney scenario, we probably won't really see him until maybe around end of October, November time. And that's obviously going to have to be dealt with by the club, Paul Warne, things like that. Well, whoever's at the helm, who actually knows what's going on with Derby County. Now, obviously, the main preface of this video is talking about the potential replacement, and he has got to be good. Like, there's no way around it. I can't find any highlights or clips of the player. I'm not going to act as if I know anything about him, because I've probably seen him play when watching the under-21s, but I can't say I have a good idea of who he is or how good he is and things like that. And this is sort of the problem we find ourselves in, is that we've got to go after a player who is a big unknown in the Championship, pretty similar to a lot of the players on this team. And it's one of those for me where it's going to be interesting to see what happens. It's going to be difficult for Derby County now. Got to rebuild a back four, got to rebuild a midfield, rebuild a front three or front four, whatever you want to play. And we've got to rebuild the confidence in the squad and the confidence within the fans, because it's dwindling. It's not really there, and it is very, very disappointing with how we're looking at the moment. And we'll just have to see what happens. Now, obviously, once again, wish Curtis Nelson all the best. Hopefully, when he returns from injury, he'll be able to hit the form again, although I believe he'll be hitting 33, 34 by that point. So it's going to be probably a pretty similar situation to that of Richard Keogh, where maybe he's just not quite going to be able to get back to those levels again, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Obviously, massive disaster, not just for Derby County, but also for Paul Warne. In the hunt for points against Sunderland, we're going to be missing our best defender, and is probably He might not even play for Derby County again. We'll have to wait and see how he recovers and things like that. Now, obviously, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell, hit the like button as well. Let me know your thoughts down below. I'll catch you in the next one.